Welcome to Brian Keane Fitness Podcast, where we talk everything fitness, nutrition and mindset with your host, Brian Keane.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Brian Keane Fitness Podcast. We talk everything fitness, nutrition and mindset to help you with your goal. Today's episode, I'm going to focus on 6 strange questions that help you find your life purpose. There's been a lot of questions coming in via my Snapchat, my Instagram, my Facebook over the last 7 to 10 days. People ask me about goal setting, self-proclaiming prophecies in terms of how to get what you want, people looking for their life purpose, their life path, turning their passion into career, and different variations of that question. So I'm going to do a full podcast episode today on what I did and some of the questions you can ask yourself in terms of turning your passion into career, finding your life purpose, or basically finding what you were put on this planet to do. I don't mean that in an esoteric or woo-woo way. Like, that looks very different to each person. Some people will have that drive in them that they were put on this planet to change the entire world. Other people want to be a better husband, wife, father, mother, whatever it is that looks like for you. That can be a life purpose. The scale is going to be very relative to each person. But the number one thing, if you were trying to figure out what you were put on this planet to do, and I'll use that as the main term of reference, I would ask yourself, what are you curious about? Where is your natural curiosity? The truth is, for anyone, to give you a little bit of background on me, for people that don't know, I worked as a primary school teacher for 4 years. I used to live in West London and East London, but I used to work in West London in a primary school. I taught 5th grade, 5th class, year 5, which is effectively 9 and 10 year olds. And I loved it. I loved working with kids. It's still a massive passion of mine, working with children, particularly around that age group when they're starting to get more sense of self in themselves. But it wasn't my life purpose. It wasn't the thing that made me get up out of bed every morning. I knew every Monday I was going to work, and I knew every Friday it was the weekend. And the weekend would come and I would literally mong out with food or alcohol or drugs or whatever the social scene was at that time, because I was trying to numb out from, I got to go back to work on Monday. I got to get back up at 6 a.m. and go do a job that I felt unfulfilled doing. So if you ever wake up with that feeling of unfulfillment, this episode, hopefully the questions that spawn through this will allow you to take a little bit of perspective on that. So curiosity is number one. What is the area you have the most curiosity in? I remember when I was 12, 13, 14, I would sit in the back of my classrooms and I would make out my workouts. I would make out calorie calculations. I was trying to figure out how to eat this many carbs in order to refuel for my workouts. My 16th birthday was a gym membership from my mum and dad, and it's the present that I'll never forget because I was so excited. I had been reading and consuming every fitness magazine I could get my hands on. There were physical magazines were all the rage, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And I got every single Muscle and Fitness, Men's Fitness and Men's Health that there was every single month. And I read them cover to cover. So when I got a gym membership for my birthday at 16, I had thought all my lotteries and all my birthdays that came at once, because I was now, oh my God, all the moves that I see in the magazines, I'm now going to be able to do in the gym. And that was my natural reaction, because my natural curiosity was in fitness, training, nutrition, diet. I was reading those books. Any book that I ever read, and I read very little until my mid-20s, was on nutrition and on diet, because that's where my area of interest was. The fitness and the magazines, training was all covered to the magazines. So my natural curiosity was in that. So when I went against that curve, when I started teaching and I went away from that life purpose, I felt it, because I was finding that I was numbing out, and it came in different forms. It came in the form of binging from food. It came in the form of numbing out with Saturday nights with alcohol or drugs or whatever it was that was able to disconnect me from the world, because I had moved away from the thing that I was most curious about. I was still training, but I wasn't doing it as a living. What I would advise anybody do in terms of trying to find your life purpose, find where your curiosity is. If you love cars and you are so interested in cars or flowers or hats or clothes or whatever it is, that's your natural curiosity, and your life purpose is going to be around that area and around that field. It's also going to give you a massive competitive advantage if you decide to build a business or build a life around it, because you're always going to outwork and outperform the person who's only doing it for the money, or only doing it for the glory, or doing it for the ego, or for whatever reason. There's a great quote in Gary Vaynerchuck's book where he speaks on, I think it's in Crush It, his first book, where he speaks that the child that's been cooking with their grandmother since the age of 6 is always going to be better than the chef that went to culinary school for 4 years. Because if you have that curiosity from a young age, you've been cultivating that while everybody else may be doing it for a different reason. So you're always going to have a competitive advantage if you decide to make a living out of that or make that your life. Now, you don't need to find your life purpose. Doesn't mean setting up a business, leaving your job. Your life purpose may look something completely different for you, but just to offer a bit of perspective, because you're your own best example, that's how I was able to make the transition out of teaching and into a fitness business and building the business and being able to help and serve as many people as I do now, was because my natural curiosity was in fitness and nutrition. It's why I have so much context. And when I work with people in my online programs, I'm able to give so much context because I have so much information, because my natural curiosity was in that. And you'll see that with people. I have a friend, Tom Bergen, who owns Cutthroat Barbers in Galway City. He's obsessed with hair and beards and that whole area of things. It's his natural curiosity. He has so much context then when it comes to that area and fields. So if you're in that and you have something that you're naturally curious about, that's going to be a massive advantage for you. So the number one thing is find your curiosity. The number two then is a little bit of a different one. What did you grow up around? I remember watching a Tai Lopez video. Now, Tai Lopez splits a lot of people. Again, I love his book recommendations. I'm working through his top 100 book recommendations. He's got incredible book recommendations for people. But he spoke in one of his videos about what did you grow up around and trying to build your life around that. I grew up around fitness. I grew up around GAA. My dad is the chairman of our local club for the last 6 or 7 years. He was involved in management teams. My mum has an All-Ireland medal. Dad has an All-Ireland medal from minor. My sister still flies back from Newcastle to play with our club team. I grew up in a GAA family. I grew up in a sporting family. So my advantage in terms of trying to find your life purpose and help as many people as possible spawns from me having a football in my hand since the age of 6. My business now largely is provided with fitness, training and GAA, and working with athletes and working with people that are interested in body composition, because they were my two areas. My area of curiosity was in fitness and training and nutrition, and I grew up around GAA. I played that for nearly 20 years, and then I took a 2-year break to compete, and now I'm back playing again. But that's what I grew up around. So you're going to have an advantage in that. And it's going to be something that's deep within you. I felt those 2 years of competing when I was away from GAA, there was something missing. Like if you, the only analogy I could describe it was like if your heart was a loading bar from a computer screen, it felt like it was at 90%. Because when you pull yourself out of the sport or the thing that you grew up around and you love so much, you always feel that void and that missing piece. I feel now, having gone back this season, that came back. So they're the first two things I would look at: your curiosity and what you grew up around. The third thing then is, what would you do for free? I've mentioned this in podcasts and videos before. If you won the lotto, what would you do tomorrow? Now, a lot of people will say, well, I'd go on holiday and I'd live on a beach. And you may do that. That's true. But for 2 weeks, you'd get pretty bored lying on a beach somewhere. Like, if you can honestly ask yourself, what would you do for free? And if you won the lotto tomorrow, you're going to be able to build a big life around that. Like, I speak regularly that if for whatever reason I won the lotto tomorrow and I had 10 billion in my bank, I would still be doing everything I'm doing now. I'd be making podcasts. I'd be doing Facebook Lives. I'd be doing Snapchat Q&As. I'd be helping and serving as many people as I can. I'd probably be scaling it up at a faster pace because I love what I do and I'm so grateful to be in the position that I'm in. But that was down to me finding the curiosity, what I love to do, and then trying to build my life around that. I grew up around the environment that was fitness and GAA. My curiosity was in fitness, nutrition, and training. And the thing that I would do for free is talk about that, help people with that. The truth is, the happiest I ever feel is when I'm meeting people or speaking with people in live videos or Snapchat Q&As where I can help them and give them information back and forth. You know, they say if you're feeling depressed or feeling bad and in a poor state, go help somebody, because that's going to lift you instantly, you know, and everybody on this planet can provide somebody else with value. You know something that somebody else doesn't. If you're somebody that is literally their first day in the gym, you can still help the person that's on the couch and can't get off it because you are further ahead of them in your journey and you can support them and provide them value. That's literally everybody on this planet can do that. You can help other people, you can serve other people and provide value to them. So I would ask yourself, what kind of things do you sit up at night thinking about? What kind of things do you spend your time talking with friends about? The same in the morning. What do you wake up in the morning thinking about and like, I wish this is what I was doing with my day? You know, if you're somebody that loves training, that loves fitness, then maybe build your life around that. If you love flowers, you love cars, you love clothes, start a blog. Start doing things that move towards that thing that gets you out of bed every single morning. I can only use myself as my own best example. I love the Warren Buffett quote. Warren Buffett's one of the richest men in the world and regularly fluctuates between the top 3 richest men in the world. And he's 85 or 86 now. And he says, I tap dance to work every day. That's how I feel every single morning. There's nights when I don't want to go to bed. I'm so excited about the things that I'm doing and I can't wait to get up and do it all again in the next day. I didn't have that when I was teaching. I knew I was going to a job. So if you can build a life around something that you love to do, that you cannot wait to get up in the morning to do, you're going to be on to a winner straight away. So the next thing is, if you know what you're curious about and you know what you do for free and you can factor in what you grew up around and what you have an advantage over everybody else in, the next thing then is going to be honing your skills and your personality and building your life around that. You know, once you've decided, there's a very funny thing that happens. We have in our brain what's called a reticular activation system. It's literally like a GPS. When you set a goal and you envision something, you brain will find a way to make it happen. You know, one of the things that I love to do, and I read it in Jack Canfield's 20 Success Principles, where he speaks about always saying all of your goals in a self-fulfilling prophecy. I've got whiteboards all over my office, all over my room, and they're all in self-fulfilling prophecies. I always say I am. I always say I have, because what happens with your brain, you start picturing and envisioning that thing. So if you're working for, 6 figures or 7 figures, or a happy relationship with somebody, or getting into a new job, or starting a new career, you need to tell yourself that in a self-fulfilling prophecy of I am, I have, because your brain starts to picture that vision, and that becomes stronger and stronger every single time that you say it to yourself. I have it posted where I can see it every single day. I've got my goals for the next year, looking back from 2018 backwards, already written as if I've already done it, because your brain starts to picture that. And if you see that every single day, consciously or subconsciously, you're going to start working towards that. And I found it's something that has supported me more than anything else, because if you can see it and you can vision it, you're just waiting for reality to catch up with that vision that you have. And it doesn't matter what way you channel that, whether that's to quit your job and get into a new business, whether that's to get the best relationship you can have with people, whether that's just to wake up and tap dance to work every morning. If that's what you have, you start working towards it. After that, it's going to be finding out what fits in well with your personality. If you've decided that you're going to find your life purpose and serve the world and start up non-profits or feed starving children or whatever it is that gets you out of bed every morning, what way can you use your personality to do that? One of the biggest mistakes I see with people, particularly business people, when they start to go into the fitness industry or blogging industry or whatever area it is not doubling down on your strengths. Like, there's certain people who just are not going to record well on video. If you don't come across well on video and you don't speak that well, but you're an incredible writer, double the fuck down on writing. Like, people will try and work through their strength or work through their weaknesses and minimize their strengths in terms of find what you're amazing at. What are you naturally really good at? And then double down on that. I'm very aware that one of my strengths is public speaking, live video, because I was a teacher for 4 years. I had to speak in front of public. I have a marketing background before that, so I used to have to speak in front of hundreds of people doing presentations. So it's something that I've been naturally honing for years. So it becomes very natural to me. So I double down on that. It takes me about 2 hours to write a blog. It's why I only do 1 blog a week, because it takes me so long, because I'm not that strong with it. But there are other people. I have Paul, who came through my mentorship program and is absolutely killing it as a personal trainer right now. He sits down and writes his blogs in like 20 minutes and it gets unbelievable traction because he's an incredible writer and he knows that that's his strength. So what I would advise people to do is, when you find what area you're going into, whether that's fashion, fitness, mechanics, flowers, find what levels with your personality and then start doubling down on your strengths and minimizing your weaknesses. If you're an incredible writer, start writing. If you're amazing on video, start doing video. If you're an incredible interviewer, start doing podcasts with people, or start doing some form of interview-based programs that people can follow. Double down on your strengths and then just channel it into your avenue. After that, then it's going to be about experimenting. The truth is, everything in life is an experiment. People have this fear of failure and, oh, what if I do this and it doesn't work? Or what if I do this and Sally laughs at me or John makes fun of me? It's like, well, fuck Sally and fuck John. Like, you've got to experiment and do things. One of the things I love, and it's Tony Robbins or Jack Canfield quote, success leaves clues. And one of the things I've been fortunate enough to do over the last 18 months is work with some of the top entrepreneur business people. I was in the fitness industry before that, so I've got to know some people at the top level of the fitness industry. And one of the things that comes across in all of them is they don't see failure as an end result. They see it as a part of the process. And when you can change your entire life philosophy, that failure is a part of the process and failure is something that happens and is not something you are, that is an absolute mind-changing shift that can allow you to go and achieve whatever it is you want in any area of your life. I love the quote, you either fail or you learn. And if you can go through everything in your life, seeing it as an experiment. You know, Thomas Edison spoke that he didn't fail 10,000 times trying to invent the light bulb. He just found 9,999 ways it didn't work. You know, if you can go through your entire life seeing everything like that, every relationship you come through, every post you put up on Facebook, every attempt you make in a new job as just part of the process, and you will only ever find out what works by trying out what doesn't work. And if you change everything from, oh, that's a failure, or I'm afraid it won't work, to it's an experiment, let's see what happens, that's when all the gold is. I go through, and again, I'll only use myself because you're your own best example, I experiment with everything. Absolutely everything that I do, I will experiment with it, posts, topics, ideas, advertising, marketing, business, life, relationships. I would experiment with things because that's the only way you find out if things don't work. The reason, again, I'll use myself as an example, is the only reason that I have a physique and a energy level that supports me on everything that I do is because I've experimented with everything. I know what supplements work for my body. I know what food works for my body. I know what training systems work for different body parts. I know what rep ranges I need to be in order to get to 5 or 6% body fat. I know because I've experimented with it. You know, I love fail faster, you know, and there's a little bit of an argument for, you know, work smarter and not harder, but I'm a fail faster guy. The more things you try, and you probably notice if you follow me on other platforms that I put out a lot of content on other platforms because that way I can see how well I can serve people and help them, because the stuff that gets shared and liked and commented on that's helping people, I'm like, okay, I need to do more of that because that's serving people more than what I think is going to help. And at the end of the day, when you help other people get what they want, you can get everything you want. And that's how life works, you know, and you have that in you because, as I said, if you're the person that's gone to their first ever gym session, you can still help the person on the couch. And the last thing then is, how can I set my goals to get what I want? I live by the Vince Lombardi quote, to reach for the moon and you'll at least hit the stars. I think everybody on this planet should set audacious goals, because at least if you don't hit it, you're still ahead of 99% of people, or you're ahead of 99% of where you wanted to be. I think that the bigger the goals, and if your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough, is a way to live your entire life. And what happens is we let fear, and a lot of the time fear is disguised as practicality. We go, oh, it's not practical to think that I can do this. You know, to live your 4-hour work week, or to earn 6 figures, or to have a life balance. You think it's not practical. That is just another way to describe fear that you've reprogrammed to think that that's the way it has to be. And it only has to be that way because you say it does. Confucius says, him who says he can and he who says he can't is both usually right. And if you tell yourself something long enough and you tell yourself a bullshit story that you can't make it happen, then guess what? That's exactly what's going to happen. And I can only speak of this as somebody that did it for years. It's not a coincidence that I'm going to be 30 later this year and I'm only starting to work towards my mission and work towards my life purpose in the last 18 months since Holly was born, because she gave me new direction. Up until that point, I had told myself a story that, you know, it doesn't happen to ordinary people. I can't do this. And I would look at people who I looked up to and respected, and I would be like, well, they're special, they're amazing people, you know, I can't do what they do. And I would tell myself that story. And if you tell yourself something long enough, you'll start to believe it. So next time you think, well, you know, I don't think I can do that, I'm just a normal person, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm in that bracket. I speak with people, and and one of the nicest things I hear back from people I talk to, well, they'll be like, well, you're just a normal person. You're just you. And people that have known me for years will be like, oh, you haven't changed. I was like, why would I change? I'm so fucking grateful to be allowed to do what I do and get up every morning and be able to serve and help as many people as I can. I fucking love my life. Why would I change on that? But a lot of that comes down to realizing that the people that have created amazing things in this world, and I by no means put myself in that bracket, but when I think of incredible people, your Steve Jobs, your Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, people who are literally changing the world with nonprofits and products and services, who have changed the world, they're no smarter than me or you. I love the story about Sam Walton, who was the owner of Walmart. When he died, he was worth $160 billion. Are you telling me there's somebody on this planet that is worth 160 billion times what you're worth, or is 160 billion times smarter than you? I don't think so. If you told people 1,000 years ago or 100 years ago that you were going to bend pieces of metal and fly it over oceans, people would have called you crazy, and you would think that it would have to be somebody out of this world that came up with an idea. But people invented the airplane, and that's how we commute and get across countries now. People did that were no smarter than you. They were normal people that follow the struggles, that have anxieties, that have issues and stress and all these things that go on in life, and they're no different to you. So when you cap yourself and tell yourself that you can't do it and you can't achieve these massive things and massive goals, that's the story you're telling yourself. I told myself that for fucking 26 years. Don't be me. Don't be that person. You can start it now. They say, I love the Chinese proverb, which the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next time is today. So I would set that big goal now and start working towards that immediately. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple of questions that got sent in that kind of sparked this entire episode. So hopefully it provides you guys with a load of value. Hey, Brian, I like reading, but I find it impossible to apply the application into my own life. What do you think? Okay, so it's funny because information without application isn't worth anything to anybody. Because the truth is execution and application is key. If information was the only thing that was important, we would all have abs or a flat stomach and $1 million or €1 million in our bank account. We know how to get abs. We know how to get a flat stomach. We eat less and we exercise more. We know how to make €1 million. You serve more people and you work harder. But people struggle with application, and I get it because I was that person as well. The first thing is, and if you've been listening to this podcast before, you know that I'm a thoughts become things. The thoughts you put into your head influences the actions that you take, and the actions you take manifest themselves into the life and circumstances that you have. So the first thing is consuming the information, reading the books, listening to the podcasts, and following the people that are supporting the version of you and what your end goal looks like and what that stronger version of you and best version of you looks like is number one. The next thing then is just taking baby steps towards applying it. Sometimes what can happen is you just have to take that leap of faith. You just got to get it started, get the ball rolling, and it'll start to snowball. This episode will hopefully provide you with a load of value because I've talked about experimenting with things, not letting that fear of failure stop you, and completely changing your mind shift and your attitude that failure is just part of the process and it's not an end result. Failure is something that happens and is not something you are. And when you flip that and start experimenting with things, that's when you get more action steps. What happens then is it becomes a habit. You are what you consistently do. Our habits are who we are. Like the people that are in incredible shape are the people that have built better habits. I put a section of this in my book about how to build in habits into your lifestyle so that you automatically make better food choices. You automatically know how to train that's optimal for your physique in terms of what your goals are. And the habits that you have are going to create the life that you have. So what you want to do is baby steps on application and just stop seeing it as a failure and an end result, and that it's just part of the process and things will stick. When you start to experiment more, the people that experiment more find great things. And when you start to form them and they become part of your lifestyle through your habits, that's when you start to see progress. Okay, next question. Hey Brian, I'm not in a position to afford a life coach. Advice on another way around it. I definitely don't think you need a life coach to get everything you need out of life. I personally think that the information that you consume is going to be absolutely critical. And then, as I said, making the application and experimenting with things and finding the end goal and finding out what you want to work for. If I was in this exact situation right now, I would be finding out those questions and answering those questions about curiosity, what you do for free, what you grew up around, what do you go to bed dreaming of, what do you wake up thinking about. I would be trying to figure out what the end goal was, and whether that's to get out of your job and into a new career or whatever it is that looks like for you. I would find that end goal, and then I would consume all the information around it to try and support that. You know, if you're trying to build a relationship with somebody that you love and have an incredible relationship with your husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, start consuming information that supports that. Start reading the 5 love languages. Read Attached. I can't remember the author, but Attached is a great book on relationships. The evolutionary psychology or evolution of desire is another great one on why people feel they need to stray and cheat on their partners. They're great ways to flood your mind with information that's going to support the end goal. If you want to get out of your job and into your own career and your own business, start consuming information of people that have done that. Follow people on Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram or any social media platform where those people are, and start consuming their information. This is why it's so important that you audit the people you follow on social media, because that information is going into your mind consciously or subconsciously. So it needs to be supporting the end goal of you. And regardless of what that looks like, you want to follow the people. And I'm not saying that that's me, and I'm not saying that's anybody else within my circle or people that I follow, because my end goal is going to be different to your end goals. You may be following different people. If your end goal is to get into incredible shape, increase your energy, build a stronger mindset, then hopefully my content may help you, but it may not. There may be somebody out there that's a better fit for you, that will support you more or will support you alongside different people that are helping you in different avenues. So my advice would be is go consume the information from those people. I put out nearly all my stuff for free, with the exceptions of my program, which is my online program and my GA program. Nearly all the rest of my content is free, you know, because it's me trying to provide and give back to people and help and give people what I would have wanted in this situation 5, 6, 7 years ago, you know. But go find the people that can support the end goal and consume their information, and they effectively become your life coach. You don't need to buy a $25,000 a year program from a life coach. You may be able to read a couple of books and consume the information regularly on their social media and get everything you need. As long as you can apply it in your own life and execute on it, you're going to get what you want. Okay, so massive thank you to everyone for downloading. I hope you guys got a load of value in this episode. It's just something that's been coming in a lot, particularly through my Snapchat, which is my most active platform at the minute. So if you're not following my Snapchat, BrianK019, definitely follow me on there. I try and open it up every day for a Q&A back and forth where you can contact me directly. For more information then on me, you can head over to my website, www.briankeenfitness.com. My newsletter is up there. My Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram is all Brian Keane Fitness. Thanks for downloading, guys. Thanks for listening. Catch you soon. Hey everyone, I want to say a massive thank you for downloading this podcast. I hope you got loads of value from today's episode. For more information on my BKF online program, just send me an email, brian@briankeenfitness.com, or head over to the website or Facebook, Brian Keane Fitness, and just send me a message. The online program is everything you need to get into incredible shape. Whether you're a guy looking to build muscle and lose body fat, or a girl looking to drop a couple of dress sizes and just flatten out her stomach, the program gives you everything you need. It's my only online program where I track and monitor the first 50 people that sign up, and it has everything that you need in terms of training, a beginner program, intermediate program, or a pro or advanced for anyone that's at a high training level, and a nutritional plan with everything you need to get into incredible shape. All the recipes, macro calculations, and systems that you need based around your goals. You'll also go into that group where I can work with you and you can ask me questions back and forth, where we do a Q&A every single week, on top of having one of my coaches work with you Monday to Friday throughout the entire 6 weeks. So for more information on that, just send me a message, and thanks again for downloading the episode.